Wix Code was released in 2017. Since then, it has received a major facelift, super enhanced functions and features, and a rebranding with a totally new name, Corvid by Wix. I'm going to take you back to the basics. It may be overwhelming to start using a brand new system that you've never used before, whether you've coded in the past or whether you're brand new to coding. I'm Code Queen Ayeli. Let me walk you through Corvid and show you how it inspired Totally Codable. First things first, let's dive right into the editor and start exploring so I can explain to you where to find all the bits and pieces that Corvid has to offer, what they're called, where they are. And I promise this time I won't do it like my first video in 2017. I will try not to use words like glue or doorway or wow, somehow this is working and I don't know why. This time I will try to use all of the correct and technical terms so that Wix approves this video. If you haven't already, go ahead and open up a blank editor page or sit back and relax because you can pause this video and return to it at any time. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and click on Add to Playlist so you can come back to it whenever you have a little bit of extra time to watch it. In the editor, the very first thing that you have to do to access Corvid is click on Developer Mode up at the top menu and enable it. This turns it on and off. It does not mean that it shuts Corvid down. It does not mean that any code stops working. All it does is launch all the Corvid systems so you can start using it. If you are a developer and you have experience coding, then let me explain to you. Corvid on Wix is magical. You don't have to code every little single piece in every single element. On the left-hand side, you will see a menu. I call it the bubble menu. I have no idea what Wix calls it. And further to the left, you'll see a site structure panel. This site structure can be toggled on and off, so that way you can basically open it and close it. You do this by clicking on this little arrow at the very bottom of the page. You hide it, and then you show it. When you have Corvid enabled on your site, you can navigate your site through either this menu, the site structure, or the menu up at the top in the bubble menu. If you click the Add button to add an element to your page, look down towards the bottom of the list and you will see User Input Elements. When you click on this, you will see many different options to use. Try not to get too disappointed if you don't see some of these in your editor. Some of these are still in beta testing, so they're only available on some accounts. From here, you basically choose any elements that you want, so that way you can start building whatever it is that you want to build using Corvid. For example, if you want to build a form, you can add some user input elements. This means you don't have to hard code the elements, they already exist for you. You can only use the elements that are available here. You cannot recreate new ones unless you're using HTML code, which is possible. From the menu, you go down to the bottom, click on More, and then click on HTML iframe. From here, you can add code in the HTML iframe and then manipulate that code or work with the code via Corvid. Now let's go to the site structure. On the site structure, you'll be able to add public, backend, node modules, and any databases. The node modules are basically packages. You click on Install a package, and then you can search through all the node modules that Wix already has pre-installed in their system or pre-configured. So for example, if you wanted to search for Lodash, you click Install so that it installs it on this site, and then uninstall anything that you no longer want to use. Oh, wait, this video would not be complete if I did not have my daughter peek in and say hello.
Hi.
Same as she did 2 years ago when my first videos came out. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Back to the tutorial. This is where you would add any backend code. The public files would be here. You can add a new file here or by using the plus sign. For the databases, you can add a new collection. Now this is where it gets a little bit confusing because Wix changed this setup. I'm going to walk you through adding a database right now. Click on Add New Collection, and from here we're going to start creating. It will give you the option to use a preset or to start from scratch. I personally don't like using the presets because they're not as customizable. Let me show you the difference between the two. It'll give you different options. They'll look like templates: a team, project, news, a list, a portfolio. The most popular is a list. So let's click on List and open that up. It'll explain to you a little bit about what it has and what it will consist of. It'll have a page, it'll have an item page, and it'll have a collection. Once you click Add to Site, it will create those components for you. Now that it's been added, I'm going to click Preview. This is a page that was automatically created because I clicked on the preset. Notice that it has a basic layout, not much of a design. You get to design it however you want. From here, because we're creating a list template, it has a repeater. This repeater has different objects that are already connected to a data set. This data set makes the connection between the page and the database. It tells the database what information you want to pull and display on this page. Because we're creating a list page, more than likely you're going to want to display that one single item in its own page. A dynamic page was created. A dynamic page will show one item at a time, but it will be the same exact layout and design for all of the items. So because it's the same page, the only way to identify between one item and the next is a unique URL. Because we created the preset, a URL was automatically created for us. Let's check out the pattern by clicking on the settings and viewing this part. As you can see, the URL that was chosen for us was .com/items with a capital I /title. This URL pattern is assuming that every single one of our titles will be completely unique and it'll never be the same. Meaning if I had a title that was called Girl Scout Cookies on Sale, I will never be able to use that title again because then it'll break the connection and the page will appear to have an error even though it is two completely different items, but because they have the exact same title, our database is not going to know which one it's supposed to show. So therefore, your title, in this case with this URL pattern, will always have to be unique. Another way to make it unique is by removing the title field, clicking Add Field, and selecting the ID. The ID is a unique number that will never be repeated that gets automatically assigned to each item. Notice here that our unique ID is a bunch of zeros with a 1 in the end, and then a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and so on. This is what happens when you use a preset. Those are the types of ID numbers that you get. Now, can we rename this database? No. All we can do is remove the collection and start over again. But because this was a preset and this database is connected to this dynamic page and this list, as soon as we click remove, it'll remove all of the connections. I'm going to go ahead and remove the collection now. Remove the dynamic page and remove the list. The list must be removed from the regular site menu and done. So now let's go back and create a custom database collection from scratch. First, I'm going to give it a name. Preferably, I'm not going to use any capital letters. Why? Well, we just saw the URL pattern from the preset, and capital letters don't really look good at the end of URLs. People are not used to them. They're not easy to memorize. If the capitalization is wrong, the URL will be marked as a broken link, and we don't want that. Let's go ahead and select a name. I'm going to choose the word product, all lowercase. From here, this might get a little bit confusing because it'll ask you what type of collection is it going to be. Site content, form submission, etc., etc., etc. All of these are very confusing. I usually just go all the way to the very bottom and click custom because now I can read every single one of the permissions and select the ones that I do want and skip the ones that I don't. So let's set custom permissions. From here, who's going to read the content from this collection? Once I insert information into the database collection and it's being displayed on a page, who do I want to read that information? Anyone. I'm going to select anyone because it's going to be a public page, it'll be a listing, so I want all the public to view that information on my page. Now who's going to create it? It depends on who your audience is going to be, how you're going to receive and store that data. For now, I'm going to select a site member, meaning they have to be logged in. They will have to be prompted to log in order to save that information in my database collection. Who can update it? Well, since a member is creating it and I want them to come back and continue editing only the information that they created, I'm going to select site member author. And who can delete it? I'm going to select admin for this one. I'm going to click set and create collection. Now our database collection has been created. It's completely blank, and if you notice, it looks sort of like a spreadsheet. So from here, you're able to add as many columns as you want. These will be fields inside of the database collection. So for example, if I'm creating a listing site, I'm going to ask for maybe basic information. The person's title, the person's first name, the person's last name, and all I'm doing is clicking the plus sign just so I can have a field. Oops, I misspelled this one. Let me go back and move to the trash, and now it's gone. Let me add it again. Notice that in the field name, I can add spaces. This is just a label. This is so you can know what this field is. But down here, depending on what you type on the top, a field key will be created. The field key has to be unique. Think of it like a URL. Every URL has to be unique. So we need the field key to be unique because if we're going to be connecting it through code, either through a data set that we saw before or connecting it manually, we have to have a unique field key. That way our code knows what database collection to look through and what column to look for. Since I typed in the word last name, a field key of last name, no spaces, with a capital N was created for me. But I can change this if I want to. I can remove the word name and just leave the word last. My label stays the same, so that way I know it's a last name, but my field key is a lot shorter. Now the field type is very important. You have to tell the database collection what type of information is going to be stored in this spot. Is it a regular text? Is it a number, an address, audio, a Boolean? Basically it means true or false. Maybe they've accepted terms and conditions, then they'll put a check mark and it'll be true. Or if they did not, it'll be false because it'll be blank. Maybe it's a date and time, a document, an image, and on and on and on. You can look through all of these references. These keep changing. For example, audio is completely brand new. Media gallery, now we have the ability to add multiple images in one spot, in one field, versus only one single image. So keep coming back to these and look at all the new types of fields that are being released so that way you can upgrade and update your database collection. Let's say I choose number for now and I click add, but I changed my mind. I accidentally added number, but it's a last name, so I need a text. I can go back, click manage field, and change it to text. It will give you a warning. Don't be scared. This warning is simply to tell you, hey, you're about to change this, so it might break some stuff in different pages or in different places where you have this field connected. Do you want to continue? Just put yes. If you know you messed it up, then you're going to have to return and check all those other places to make sure that all the connections are correct. So you continue adding as many fields as you want. This is one record. You can add a second line to make a second record, third, fourth, and so on. You can add each record manually, or you can import records. The way that you import right now is through this import button. There is no other way of mass importing unless you do it manually via code and you run a loop through your code. That way it triggers each record and it starts inserting one by one. So the import button is in the top right corner. If you click on that and you click import file, you'll be able to choose a file, and you have to choose a CSV. If it's not in CSV format, you will not be able to select it. I'm going to click a sample. This sample was provided by Wix. From here, you have to carefully go through each column that was detected in the CSV. So it found a column called first name, and now it's telling me, where do you want that column to be associated with? It can be an existing field or it can be a brand new field. Well, it automatically selected existing field because it noticed that I already had a column that I labeled first name. So this one is done. Then the second one, last name, existing field, it's going to be connected to last name. And email is a brand new field. I don't have an email field just yet. So it's going to give me the option to label it, update the field key if I need to, and select what type of field it is. It auto-detected that an email is going to be plain text, so it already selected text for me. And you go down the list one by one. Once you've verified and checked that each one is correct, you continue to the next screen. You'll be able to visually see where each item will be imported, make sure that that's correct, and then click import. There are limits to the import, and those limits keep changing, but your database can hold as many records as you need. There is no limit, as of now, that we know of. Once it's done importing, you will see all of the new records that were imported. John Doe, John Demo at Wix.com. You will also see a lot of blank rows. I created those rows with you only a few minutes ago. Because I don't need these and I don't want it to cause errors in my dynamic page, I can right-click and delete. Or let's say I needed a copy of all these because I was going to edit a few details. I can highlight the rows, right-click, and click duplicate. And now I have two. Let's check under visible fields. This will allow you to basically hide and show different columns. Maybe I don't want to see their name, their phone, their address, country or company. I just want to see their favorite color and what city they're from. And I want to see the ID. The ID is the unique number that was created when we created that record. Notice how it's a really long number, dashes in the middle. There will never be a duplicate because Wix native code automatically creates this ID for us. Let's go back to the visible fields. From here, there's an owner field. This is associated with the person that is either logged in or is a guest on the site and is not logged in but created a record for your database. This ID is mine. It belongs to me. And notice that I am the owner of all of these records. Basically, I'm the author. So if I had a setting on one of my pages that said only the author is allowed to edit their information, then I will be allowed to edit all of these records because I am the owner of the records. You can add a filter and look for maybe just John, because let's say I have like 10,000 records and I want to find John. Well, John was not found because I was searching the title field. I don't want to search title. I want to search first name. And now it'll show me all the Johns in my database. From here you can remove the filter and see all of the records again. You can sort so you can view them in a different order, but sorting them here will not sort them on different places on your page. Each page will probably have a data set connected or manual code. So either in the manual code, you will physically type in the word ascend, title, or descend, last name. That way you can tell it what order, or in the data set, you would just select native filters that it has, change the settings, and then change the order. Now, while we're still in the back end of the database, let's talk about the syncing. It was so confusing for me 2 years ago. I had no idea what it was. I just knew that I had to click it. Your sandbox is like your play area. This is where you're going to test code. Sometimes you're going to test with fake information, like this. Sometimes you're going to test with real information, meaning you imported all of your data from a CSV, but it's stuck here in the editor until you send it over to your live website. We cannot sync it just yet because we have not published our site. If we click on the sync button, it'll give us different options. It'll allow you to select an option and you'll be able to click sync. And it'll supposedly do it. It gave us a little check mark, but it didn't do it. If you click on the Live button, it does not know how many databases I have. It does not know what fields I want in my database collection until I publish first. So let's publish, and now it's live. So the sandbox is now matching the live version. So now it performed the sync. I can't edit this live information. It is all grayed out. This sandbox data lives in your editor. So if you were to change this name, it will not change it in your live database. Now you could sync it every single time, but that wouldn't be really efficient. The best way to do it is go straight to the live data. Click on that little button. It'll open up your dashboard. Now if you notice there's the big giant plus sign over here, it makes you think that you can add a new database collection from your dashboard, but right now you can't. Try back again later. Maybe they will release this function soon. You'll see a big giant grid of all of your collections. Right now we only have one, the product one. So I'm going to open it, and this is the live information. From here, I will be able to edit the info. Now that I changed the name, if you notice up here, it says all changes saved. It saves automatically, so you don't have to worry about pressing the save button. If I make the change here, Harry 2, and I go back to the sandbox, it will not update that info, again, because it's not syncing. I'm going to click on sync, and then I'm going to replace everything with all of my items from my live database back into the sandbox. Voila, now we have Harry 2. Now, let's create a dynamic page. We can create a dynamic page from a couple of ways. First, let me duplicate this home page. From here, I can click on the settings wheel, and then I can set it as a dynamic page. It'll ask me, which one of your database collections do you want to link it to? I'm going to select the one that I have, and I'm going to create an item page. It gives me the option to set the URL pattern. Remember, it has to be unique. In my case, I'm going to select the ID to be part of the URL. So right now my URL pattern for my dynamic page will be .com/product/ID. I'm going to create the page. The page went from the regular pages and got bumped down to the dynamic area. I cannot change this label. I don't know why. And I cannot change this label either. Let me go to the database called product and click on that settings wheel. I'm going to click on add a dynamic page. This time let's choose category page. I'm going to click on next. Then I'm going to set the pattern. Product, and let me try selecting the ID once again. It'll give me an error. There's a conflict. There's another URL that has that same exact pattern, product/ID. Well, let me try changing the last variable once again, and let me select country. There's still an error, but why? Well, even though we did select a brand new variable, the product/ is being used by a different dynamic page, so we actually have to change that. So let's add another word, group/country. Now it's completely unique. There is no other pattern that is matching the same one. Now I can click Create Page. The first one was a dynamic item page. It will display only one single item. Every single item will have its own page. This secondary page that I created is a dynamic category page. Well, that means the specific variable that I selected in the URL pattern will act as a filter. Because I selected the word country, it's going to go through all of my items in my database collection, and it's going to find all the ones from the same country and group them together. So that way when I display them on this page, I will see all of Israel, all of Lithuania, Ukraine, United States. Right now I don't have anything on my page, so let me add a quick repeater. You can look at my repeater videos on YouTube. I'm going to connect this dynamic data set to this repeater. So I click on the repeater. Let me make the connections really quickly. Let me hit preview. Here, showing me a group of everyone that matches the United States. This little drop-down thing might be a little bit confusing because it's not going to appear on your live website. This is just for your editor, so that way you can use the drop-down to preview what it would look like. This is a category page. It categorized or it grouped all of the matching records that had this one variable in common, the country. So this was an overview of what Corvid is, where everything's at, and how to get started. I know it might have been a lot and a bit confusing, but it was absolutely necessary to give you the complete information based on my experience using Corvid for the past 2 years. My name is Code Queen Nayeli. Make sure you visit totallycodable.com to practice and learn how to make your website totally codable.